Pirates, you heard it here first. Zach Bivens is playing Pirates at DLC.
Okay, don't be crazy now.
Turn 5, I can sing this big thing. I'm kind of like, well, this is great unless there's an opponent on the other side of the table.
So as long as Artabax just stops coaching people and like promoting green purple, I think red blue will still be fine.
I feel like this is the angriest Artabax gets. I feel like he's fuming at this Hades.
TCG players are conditioned to find optimal routes through systems, and they will always make optimal decisions within that. If there is no incentive to not take IDs, they will take them.
Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today is our next podcast on the channel. I've never really called it a podcast in the past. We've done interviews one-on-one with various players, but yeah, I've always had it in my mind that I want an official podcast. I need a name for it. I was going to call it the Poisoned Apple Podcast, but it already exists. Someone has it, so I'm thinking about maybe calling it The Lair. If you've got any suggestions as to what our podcast interview segment should be called, leave them down below. But yeah, today is a big one. I am joined by 4 separate guests, 3 of which we've done interviews with on the channel in the past already, and 1 brand new guest. But yeah, this was a big undertaking. A lot of thought went into this, and we're joined by some fantastic players. We've got Artabax, who has made 2nd place at 2 very large online events and a host of other accomplishments, known as sort of the master of the EA Tempo ink combination, and a fantastic guy. We did an interview with him just a couple of weeks ago. We also have Lorcana Decklists joining us, who it's their first time being on the channel, but they're a fantastic player, fantastic deck builder. They don't do YouTube, but they've got a very big following on Twitter, and ever since Chapter 1, they've consistently posted various deck lists of all ink combinations, and they're very regularly very high on the online leaderboards, so it's fantastic to be joined by him. We are also joined by Zach Bivens, who again, no stranger to the channel. I think he was one of our first interviews. It was either him or the Lorcana twins, but yeah, one of our earlier ones, one of the best records in Lorcana so far. I think I think still to this day have the most top cuts in Lorcana events, and a fantastic human being, a fantastic coached a lot of people to winning stitches at the set championships. So great to have him on again. And we are joined by Zefa, who was one of my personal inspirations before I even started this channel. They're a fantastic player, fantastic content creator, fantastic person, and it was an absolute pleasure to get all of these minds together to talk about Lorcana. We talk about a lot of things. We talk about the set 3 format, we talk about set 4 cards, we talk about the set championships, the DLCs, we talk about certain, let's call them Lorcana political issues. And one of my favourite things about this interview is that it shows that top players, top minds can disagree on certain things and do so politely and still get on and just celebrate this game that we love. But I'm not going to go on too much longer because there's a lot to talk about in this interview, so let's crack straight on. And as promised, I am joined by the men, the myth, the legends, some of the best players in Lorcana. Welcome, gentlemen. Obviously, I've already hyped you up before you arrived, but please introduce yourself. We'll start with our most recent 2nd place finish in the Revenge of the Fifth tournament. Tell them who you are, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm Artabax. I'm the many people of you might know me as the green purple founder, or how can you say that? I'm on Twitch also and streaming all my tournaments and some ladder grinding, deck testing things. And today I got Twitter as well, or X, so you can follow me there too. So and again, thanks for having me. Yes.
Yeah, so my name is Zach Bivens. Definitely honored to be here with all these awesome people. So I went pretty hard on set 1 Lorcana, or just early Lorcana in general. Went to a ton of tournaments, won a few of them, topped a bunch of events. I do a bunch on Twitter. You can follow me there. I just started YouTube recently, so doing Twitter and YouTube right now.
Hi, I'm LD, Lorcana Decklists on Twitter, at Lorcana Decks. I brew decks and post new brews at the start of every set season and whatever I like in between. So if you're looking for a good place to start, get some ideas every time new sets roll in, give me a follow. And yeah, we're really looking forward to having this chat.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me again. I'm Zefa. I occasionally make YouTube videos, probably like once a month now, and also occasionally stream like once a week if I'm lucky. But yeah, it's good to be here.
Amazing. So again, we've been joined by three of these guests before. LD, first time on the channel. It's a pleasure to have you. But yeah, I wanted to put this together. We are close to the end of set 3. We are approaching, well, we're just coming out of the first, what I would say, real big competitive Lorcana events in the form of the set championships. And we are just coming into the first real grand scale events, the official Disney Lorcana challenges, instant sellouts, a lot of complaining for that there weren't enough positions, so more positions opening up, and then again instant sellouts, big prizes up for grabs, and they haven't all even been announced the full extent of what's happening. Lots of big things happening in Lorcana, and we are approaching the end of this format, but for those first DLCs, we will still only be as far as set 3 in terms of legality. So while a lot of players, myself and I'm sure my guests included, are very excited to get into set 4 and start brewing with new combos, we need to keep our heads, especially if you're playing a DLC or covering it in any way, we need to keep our heads relatively in the set 3 format because it's still going to matter for a while. So I want to start off where we're going to talk about all aspects of it, but just open question to the group. Has this been our best format in Lorcana so far?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing. Like set 1 was okay. It was good, but there was really only 2 viable decks really. Set 2 was awful. I'm not a fan. And then set 3 is so well balanced. I'm like so impressed with how well they balanced set 3. I can't believe how many decks there are.
I'm also impressed, yes, because I think that's not easy to balance a game like this. I mean, all colors are viable, I think. There are more than 5 decks you can bring to a tournament, and you can't say which deck wins. Is always a good sign that the format is really good balanced. I think no one could maybe say that Green Steel won the tournament. The Tears, it would be hard to predict who wins. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think for sure this set is like the most diverse for sure, and I agree with Zach. I think set 2 was the worst for me at least. I personally, my favorite was still set 1. I felt like I was the most passionate about Lorcana. I had the most fun in set 1, but set 3 is very diverse. I think the meta is really, really healthy.
Yep, LD.
Yeah, just to echo what the others have said, super diverse. You can play almost anything. It feels like every deck massively rewards expertise. Its tournament results are largely a reflection of skill amongst the usual variants. Really good for this to happen at this stage in the game's development, it feels like, because we're kind of seeing, we saw it a little bit in set 1. There are some people that kind of made a name for themselves as incredible red-purple players, for example, or amber-steel players. But now we've got real resident experts, go-to people for every deck that really showing what this depth of experience can do across such a varied meta. And it's been super fun.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to echo off of one thing that Zefa said. I was a big fan of Chapter 1 format. I agree, this is far better, far healthier, but I loved it. Like Ruby Amethyst, I mean, I still think it's relatively this now, but back then Ruby Amethyst just felt so chess-like to me. So I was a big fan of that, but no, it is far better to have a much healthier meta game. It's so harder to make calls about what is going to be prominent. I mean, if it's your local, you might have more of an idea of what sort of decks you're going to expect. But yeah, it's just harder to work out what people are going to be playing because so many things are viable. When we get to start talking about DLCs, we'll talk a bit more about what sort of decks people are expecting to see. But no, I agree, a really healthy format. LD, is there a particular deck that coming into set 3 you thought was going to be better than it was? Or is there anything... Basically, what are the decks that have surprised you the most, whether because you thought they were going to be good or people thought and it's underperformed, or something that was really off the radar and has suddenly shot through to excellence? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so there's a deck that massively surprised me in what it's turned into and what it was capable of doing, but I don't feel like I'm the one on this call that should talk about it because it's green purple. So I don't want to steal what Artabax is going to talk about. But coming into the set from the first set of spoilers, and this was kind of the first thing that Artabax and I connected on and started to talk about, was just the potential for this is looking like it could be something. I don't know where it goes, but there's something here, and we were clearly working on this similar sorts of things at the same time. But what it's turned into is incredible. It's a super strong deck, a real contender across this format, and on certain weeks, it's looked like it could be the strongest deck in some of these formats. So massively impressed to see that.
Yeah, Artabax, again, you are very much known for the EA tempo, just win the game.
But LD too. We brewed on this together, so
yeah, shared credit. Yeah, for sure. But like, anything to add on to what LD said about your thoughts about it? Like, has anything surprised you about it, or the way it's developed through the meta? I mean, I know yourself, there's a few differences between your list that you played in the event yesterday, or day before yesterday, when you guys are seeing this, compared to your last second place. Do you want to talk us through some of those changes that you made?
I mean, the most changes were the evasive package that I put back in, because they were too important against mini Zefa or some annoying other evasive characters where we had no answers for. The really first thought just about the history of the deck, where I wanted to build this deck, was when the 2-drop Ursula was revealed, and I thought, okay, you could build an aggro deck and add 4 of these 2-drop Ursulas, and nearly all answers to an aggro deck she can remove. That was my first thought about this. And then from time to time it developed to... in the meanwhile, it's not an aggro deck anymore. It's like a tempo aggro mid-range, what do you want to do deck. But yeah, I'm really happy that it's successful, that it's good, because I like those kind of decks, and I'm really, it could be really I could be in the future really sad that maybe we have a worse meta than now, because I'm really happy right now.
Yeah, we want all the colours to be able to be represented. Like, that was the shame, like, from sets 1 and 2. Like, you just couldn't play Emerald. Zach, any thoughts on anything that's over or underperformed this season?
Underperformed? Well, coming into the format, obviously Jafar was super hyped. And I think it still has a lot of potential. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see it make a deep run at one of these challenges. But as far as results so far, it's definitely underperformed. And then the Ruby Mufasa deck, like, at the very beginning, it felt like they might be the best deck in the format. And yeah, it's seen some success, but it's super, super underperformed from where I thought it was at the start of the set.
Do you think some of that is due to lack of pilots, the lack of believers?
Maybe, but it just has a lot of weaknesses. So
yeah,
I think people just figured out how to attack that deck.
No, that's fair. That's interesting. Zefa, any thoughts on over and underperforming decks this meta?
Yeah, I kind of want to add on to all those answers. For me, the underperformer is definitely Mufasa. I've always been like, I love Mufasa. Mufasa's king, but it really hasn't had good results. And I actually do think a lot of like very good players don't play Mufasa because it's considered a for a lack of a better term, like a low skill level deck. It's a very linear, like you just play characters only and like turn things sideways. So a lot of good players want to like sort of show how skillful they are at piloting, and they don't want to play a deck like Mufasa. I think if a bunch of very good pilots played Mufasa, I think it would have a lot better results. And then as far as like overperforming, I think I personally underrated green purple a lot. I think a lot of it's actually due to I think that deck is a lot harder to pilot than people probably think, and there's a lot of not very good pilots on green purple in general. And like just green steel is like 3 to 4 times more popular than green purple, but the people like Artabax and LD who can pilot green purple really will have like amazing results. So I think that's a very good deck that I underrated.
All right, let's move us on into set championships. Did we all enjoy them overall?
Yes.
Yes.
I enjoyed winning Stitches.
I enjoyed it after I won my first Stitch, but leading up to the first one, I was actually very anxious before set champs. I was like stressing out because I actually felt this weird like anxiety and pressure to like I have to win a Stitch because like everyone's won a Stitch, so I felt like really anxious about it.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a fair amount of pressure. Uh, I think in general, though, it's probably the most fun I've ever had at playing store level of any TCG. Just not at a big event, but yet the stakes were still high, and it felt like reasonably casual. Yet everyone had their competitive head on, and was sort of the perfect balance. Just a really, really great experience.
Yeah, the community was like like everyone there was like super nice. It was like a great experience overall, and like I met a lot of really great people. I had a great time. I thought it was great overall.
Artabax, Zach, you both. How many did you guys do?
I that was the only downside for me. I made six. I got 4 stitches and made 6. It was a really grind day for day, and I got sick after I had four set championships in a row, and then I was ill the rest of the week because it was so exhausting.
Yeah,
but nevertheless, it was really exciting and fun, and yeah.
Zach.
Yeah. I didn't get to play in as many as I wanted, but I played 3. I made 3 top 8s, but I lost in 2 of them to mirror matches. So I got 1 stitch total. But yeah, it was a good experience. I think like that would be the thing that I would maybe change, because it feels great. Oh, I made top 8, and then you lose, and it's like, wow, I guess I just wasted another hour for nothing. Like, the top 8 to top 4 is crazy. Like, do you feel good because you made top 8, or do you feel bad because you lost and now you get nothing?
Yeah, I wanted to
definitely bad.
Yeah, did very bad, and that's something I wanted to mention. Is kind of the low point of my whole set champion experience was the second one I played. I only got to play 2 because I was only free on one of the weekends. Second one I played, playing top 8 against a lovely opponent. And they've lost, and I've gone to the top 4 to get my stitch. And they've like cried at the table because of the disparity in pricing between 8th and 4th. Which, if anything's got to change, it's got to be that. I know stores can do some stuff. They can put some packs up for pricing, but people want the unique item, the memory. They want that promo. And I think if you're going to cut to 8, there needs to be 8. But yeah, that's my view.
Yeah, so I agree. And we're going to move on in a moment to like ideas of how things they could change and implement in the future. But to kind of go off of all the points you've just made. So like Artabax, for example, you said you played 6, right? Yes. Yeah, so I think most people that I've seen that did that grind, a few of them have been like, I don't know if I could do it again. I don't know if I could do that again in 3 months. Would you?
Oh, I don't know. If you know how to, you can be unlucky and then even and then just lose. And I like Zach, I lost 1 top 8 match as well, and got out. That could be even happen. I think I was a little bit lucky to get 4 stitches. I don't know if I would a little less, of course. I think like 4 or 3 maybe. Well, 6 was a little bit much.
I think it's also going to depend on what promo it is as well. Like, I mean, I'm sure if they announce the next one is a new Enchanted Art Hercules, my man Zach, I'm sure is taking every day off that he can to make sure. yeah. So again, it's some of them are going to mean more to you based on whatever the promo is. But yeah, going off of Zefa, like again, anxiety I was very much carrying into these, and I think as well. Excuse me, as content creators, it's kind of a different lens as well, because at some point you want to validate you're giving opinions on your thoughts of the game, and you want to be able to validate that to a degree. And I think most of us understand, like, hey, not everyone's luck is a variant that takes into account. I know some very good players that didn't get a stitch. Doesn't mean they're not good players. Making that very clear. But yeah, I mean, like, you feel like you want to do well to represent your brand, but again, as you can see, everyone putting up their stitches, that anxiety would grow. I was lucky that I got to do the first one, so like I was like, okay, I'm safe, I'm on the bench. But then as more people were saying, here's mine, I can absolutely like empathize with, like, if I hadn't got one that early, I would have been exactly the same. I like, come on, I need to live up to it to a degree. Obviously, doing the first one, I was very aware that I was very lucky to do it. It was a limited invitation list, so you want to do well then in the public one. And I did have a lot of fun, but I think if I had not been doing well, then I don't know how much fun I would have been having. Yes, I met some people that were great to talk to. It was great to see a couple of friends that I've like got to know over like going to the shop for previous preview events and stuff like that, release events. But by and large, I think my overall enjoyment was probably weighted to how well I was doing, and I could absolutely empathise with like if you get to the top 8 and then you miss out. I mean, the guy I beat in top 8 was a really nice guy and like a good player, like around my age, and he took it well. It was no problem, but there was like you could see it in the face, like the disappointment, and like, you know, obviously I'm here to win, but I'm not unempathetic. Like on one side I was like, I feel for you, man, because if I got all the way to top cut and then I'm not getting a stitch because I lost arguably the most important game of the day, you could say, then yeah, that's got to feel bad. So with that in mind and just anything else, what would you, if anything, what changes would we like to see for future set championships?
I think you could argue for less championships in total, and you get top 8 maybe the stitches or the promos, but it's less tournaments in total in an I think that would be better for all. I think bigger tournaments then, but less tournaments, and you get the promo for top 8 or top 16 then.
I was just going to say, I think on the pricing, maybe there's something there about it would have been nice. There was such a diverse crowd of people there that were all coming out to compete. And it did feel like a celebration of the game. And if maybe there was a little something, you know, pins and things like that can go out to all sorts of players regardless of performance, because there are a load of lovely opponents that I played against that kind of finished their weekend thinking, oh, I was sort of hoping I would come here and get a stitch, but there are a lot of really competitive players that have sort of beat me and maybe I won't come next time. And that would be a real shame if they didn't, because it was such a great crowd that I think maybe there's a little something, I don't know what it would look like, just something that can make it feel like a celebration of the game for everyone.
I think a stitch should have been like raffled off randomly to someone there too. I think that would make it really fun. I also heard someone somewhere mention maybe not let players win more than one. Like if you've already won one event, you're not eligible to win a second one. I don't know how that enforceable that would be, but like I mean, as a player who's won multiple stitches, I wouldn't like that, but I actually think there's something to that. Also maybe like price scaling, because I know there was also a lot of differentials between regions. Some places got 8 people. And it was like, and then like I had one tournament that had 50 people show up, and I was like, oh man, and I had to like compete with like Savige, some like MTG Pro Tour top. So there was a lot of like, so I was like, maybe we should have some different scaling on prizes, and yeah, that's my thoughts on it basically.
The top 8 that I made, the public one at Dark Sphere, again, it was the higher you were, like first place got a full box, second place got 18 packs, and it went down. And I've seen a few people say you should do the opposite. Like if you're getting the stitches / the mats, do you need the packs as well? Like surely you weight that more towards 5th to 8th, so that like again, it maybe that helps that sour taste that you missed a stitch. At least maybe then you came 8th. Okay, well you get the whole box. Do you know what I mean? So agree, disagree?
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Like,
yes,
top 4 should be just the stitches and playmats. Like, you need nothing else. You don't care. So all the prizes should go to the other people, so that it doesn't feel quite as bad. 100%. And I agree with LD. Like, this is so many people's first card game. Like, you should commemorate that, not try to push them out. Like, they literally got nothing. They feel really bad. So I agree. Like some pins, some kind of promo cards or something on entry.
Yeah, I think there absolutely should have been the Rockstar Stitch on a pin. Like they've done pins for every other set. I imagine they will continue for like league prizes. The unique set championship pin. So even if you didn't get the card, hey, I really like Stitch and I like this artwork. Well, here it is on a pin. It may not be the card, but again, it's something, it's unique, something that ties you to that event. Don't ever give it away again. I am all for, like, I don't ever want this Stitch reprinted. And I'm not just saying that as someone that has 2 on my shelf. I would be saying this nonetheless. Like, I think it's fine. So, like, if you want to reprint it, like, in few years in a collection box, as long as we can differentiate these set championship ones with the promo, like if you want to reprint it on something else, then I think that's probably fine. Like, I'm not an expert in the financials of card games, I very loosely follow it. I'm sure that would probably knock a bit off of the original, but surely the original's got to maintain its status and its price to a degree over the years. But yeah, again, just something to, because in some ways it did feel like a big like Lorcana celebration, a set championship celebration, but again, if you didn't perform as well that day, I can absolutely understand how you probably didn't feel that way. Something that I was going to bring up and get your thoughts on, because I've seen different stores did this differently. So for my tournament, we did higher seed goes first for top cut. Thoughts on this? For or against?
I'm for, because there was no incentive whatsoever to not ID in late rounds, which when you're at small local tournaments feels really strange. I took an ID in both of mine that I played at 3-0 and felt like this is not the environment where you ID in my local store with a bunch of friendly people. And it's sort of, like I say, it's that mix up of competitive yet casual setting. It doesn't feel like the place to do it. To my mind, just incentivized not doing it. I would have played if there was modified play draw. It wasn't, so I didn't.
I had never actually played a game in the past where it was higher seed gets that, so that was kind of new to me. But I'm not necessarily against it because, yeah, like you get to actually play the rest of your games. You shouldn't ID if you think you can win those. So I'm kind of, the more I think about it, the more I like it. Because, yeah, I always take the IDs, but I would absolutely play instead to try to get the higher seed to reward me for my play throughout the whole tournament. So I think it makes sense.
I think it's reasonable, and there's nothing that speaks too much against it, because I think it's fair. It's quite fair, because if you have a better Swiss result, then you should get a little reward for that. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I'm very much for the modified play draw. In fact, a while ago, TS tournaments didn't do that, but a bunch of players had mentioned that they would prefer that, and so I actually brought it up in the feedback, and then the week after, Tia was also like, yeah, that sounds good, we'll start trying it, and then it's been like that ever since, so I'm very much for the modified play draw.
Yeah, I think that sums it up really. Again, like, it's rewarding you for playing better, and it is unincentivizing the ID, which I think even if you're someone that's fine with IDs, you don't want them to be good. You don't want, like, that's not going to speak for everyone. That's probably more controversial than the casual tone I passed it off with. But in my experience, people, like, I don't talk about IDs a lot on this channel because I think it's as close as we get to Lorcana politics. That's the way I always put it. And I don't like talking politics really, because I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me. We, as far as I'm concerned, we don't need to talk about that. We can have completely different life philosophies, and I'm still happy to sit down and talk Lorcana with you without like it becoming a personal clash of our principles. I can absolutely see both sides of the ID argument, which simplified is I've won more than my opponent, so I deserve to be able to say, if I ID this last round, I make top cut. Let's ID then if my opponent's fine with it. I won more, so I get to do that. That is my reward for doing so. And why wouldn't I, especially if a loss is going to potentially jeopardize that top cut? But I also get the other side that says, play all your games out. I personally, I'm fine with IDs. I was kind of brought up in that culture from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, me getting into card games, it was kind of very much the norm. And again, like, there's a deeper issue there about, okay, well, maybe you just accept it because you were like, you grew up in it, but I'm fine with it. But I completely understand the opposite side. But anytime I see something come up which is like, okay, well, this prevents the idea and makes more people play Lorcana, I'm usually for it. Anything else anyone wants to add to the ID conversation there that we might not have covered that you think is worth bringing up?
I totally agree with you. I just think TCG players are conditioned to find optimal routes through systems, and they will always make optimal decisions within that. If there is no incentive to not take IDs, they will take them. So just make it worthwhile to play all the games, and you won't have to have the debate.
There you go.
I think one thing to point out, like, people that are against IDs, I understand, but like, if you're 5-0 and someone's 3-2 and you both end up with the same record, like, if the IDs didn't exist, like, I'm gonna get in because I started 5-0. The way tiebreakers work, Like, it didn't matter if I took the ID or not. If I lost my games, like, I'm still going to get in over you most of the time because I won my games early. And that's just kind of how tiebreakers work. So I get the argument, but it honestly doesn't even matter most of the time. You're still not getting in if you're 3-2. IDs isn't what kept you out. You just lost early, so your tiebreakers are worse, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, so all you're really asking of me is to not have a mental health break. Like, for no reason. Basically. Because it's going to change nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zefa, Artabax, any thoughts on that, or is that well covered?
I personally don't like IDing myself because I think, maybe this is too much of a sportsman thing. But I think if I'm not able to win enough games to be in a top cut, then I shouldn't deserve it. And I think it's changing maybe some better players are put out of the top cut than in this weird situation. But I don't judge anyone doing IDs. It's reasonable, but for me personally, I just don't like it.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly reasonable to whatever side of that fence you fall on. I think both are perfectly valid, and I think sometimes we do just have to be able to just agree to disagree on certain issues. Before we move into DLC, Zefa, what's been your favorite deck to play this format?
For the majority of it, it was blue steel, and then this deck called red blue became very, very popular. And then right now, like at this very moment, I'm actually on the red blue train. So I guess right now, I've betrayed the blue steel players, and I'm on red blue, and I'm having a lot of. It was my most played deck in set 2, so I do still have a lot of fun piloting it.
Are you finding you're having more success with one than the other?
Yeah, I mean, again, because the meta shifts so much, no thanks to Artabax, but now that green is getting a lot more popular, I'm just like, just when I'm on the red-blue train, now all these green players are going to be all my enemies now. And I was playing a lot of hardcore ranked the other night, and I ran into a bunch of green steel and even a green purple, which I rarely see on hardcore. I was like, oh, it's happening. My red blue days are going to be soon over, but yeah.
But then you can go back to Sapphire Steel and feel safer.
Exactly.
It's the circle of life.
I can always fall back on blue steel, so I guess I have those two.
It is the rock, paper, scissors of our game. Zach, your favourite deck to play this format, and any honourable mentions to things you may have switched between?
Oh man, I've tried so many crazy decks. I built some crazy stuff that never sees the light of day. But I also like Sapphire Steel. I think it's an amazing deck. Its only real bad matchup, in my opinion, is red blue. Like I love it playing against the green stuff. Yeah, I think that's really good. But red blue is just so bad for that deck. And I love playing purple steel. Any purple steel is really, really fun. And then lantern, amber steel. I'm not big on the flutes, but I definitely love lantern, amber steel. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's I'm not a big steel amber player, but when I see the lantern build, the flute build, the Pride Lands build, I feel like lantern is probably the way I'd be more inclined to go without too much experience playing it. Obviously, Artabax LD, we know that you've been mostly on the EA train, but is there a secondary deck that you've been or is it just, no, this is what I play, that's it? Is there anything else that you would give a shout out to in the meta?
I played a lot of decks. Red purple is also I played red purple a lot of, and I would play red purple if green purple wouldn't exist, or if green purple wouldn't be good enough. Then red purple is always and it's a deck I also really like. And red blue a little bit, but not that much. But green purple obviously is
your bread and butter.
Most played deck in this format.
Yeah, no, that's fair. LD.
Boring answer, but I played a lot of blue red as well, and really enjoyed playing that for a while. But I kind of maintain that one of the worst feelings in this game is when you jump to a new deck that has a bad matchup against your main deck, and you will immediately see it, and you know all of their lines. And you know exactly how they crush
how
you
they're going
in such
to
exacting detail that it's quite torturous to play something like blue red, and then after hundreds of games of green purple, you just sort of see that turn one Merfolk, and you're like, I know how this one goes. It's
Karma,
not so
man.
good
It's
for
karma.
me.
No, but I'm glad that like multiple people have brought up Red Blue, because maybe not to all to you guys, but I think it kind of came out of nowhere, because of that it had some success in set 2, but I would, again, Ruby Amethyst had such a chokehold on the meta that like we didn't really know how good it was. It was seeing some play, and then with set 3, I tried it early just as a location build. I was like, we've got this new fancy toy, let's see if we can just go all in and see how good they are on their own. Turns out 50-50, but then towards sort of like the middle of the format, it started finding its place. It was like, okay, we don't need all these locations, we just need them at that manner. And then I think really it's kicked into overdrive with the addition of Lucky Dime. Without Lucky Dime, and you could say similar for Blue Steel, but I feel like Blue Steel was competing perfectly well without it, to be honest. Without Lucky Dime, are either of those decks as successful as they've been this format? Or is it really that card that I think most people underrated that suddenly made 2 decks some of the best decks in the game? Thoughts?
I think matchup wise, of course, because Red Blue is only good against Red Purple, or even it's hard to say, because of Lucky Dime. And if Lucky Dime wouldn't exist, they would have a hard time against Red Purple still.
Yeah, it shores up that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I totally agree with the Dime.
Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead, Zach.
I'm glad we've all got things to say, though.
Go ahead. No, I was saying, yeah, Dime completely changed everything for those decks. Without the Dime, I don't think they're anything.
So in set 2, like I said, Red Blue is my most played deck. I think Red Blue in set 2 is the best deck in the format if Red Purple didn't exist. But the Red Purple matchup was like it was like 80-20. It was like that bad. If you're against a good Red Purple player, you're winning 20% of the time. And you can't do that against the most played deck in the format. And then just Lucky Dime alone made it like at least 50-50. So without Lucky Dime, again, Red Blue probably doesn't exist, because Red Purple probably still becomes very dominant.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, shores up the bad matchup. It was a super important innovation when that got put in, for, like everybody else has said, just making that bad matchup good, which is something that there are a lot of opportunities to do. There's not a huge window. Almost everything has at least one notable bad matchup, and very rare is it that you'll find a single card that you can easily slot in that you can say, this gives me the inevitability to actually get this bad matchup over the line. And yeah, really good deck building, and it's obviously changed things massively.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad to see that in combination perform so well. And again, just touching back to what we said at the beginning, just our healthiest meta. Again, admittedly, we've only had 3. We're still young, but in comparison, it's absolute chalk and cheese. Let's move towards talk for Disney Lorcana challenges. Again, I think unarguably the biggest Lorcana tournaments we will have had so far. Artabax, do you have plans to go to any?
Yes, I will go to Lille. That's soon, in 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully going to Bochum as well, because Bochum didn't. The ticket sale is not open yet, but hopefully I get a ticket.
Yeah,
I'm really excited, but it's so big. I'm a little bit scared because it's so big, and it's not easy to get there into the top spots for every. It's really hard, but I'm excited, of course.
Of course, but it's still
competition is. Whoa.
It's going to be stiff competition. It's going to be very daunting. It's going to be like, and again, I think especially for newer players. LD, have you got any lined up already?
Yeah, so I can't go to Lille because of personal appointments, which is a shame. It's sad to miss out, but I will be going to the first one in Germany.
Nice.
A couple of months later. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And I guess the mixed blessing is that I'm able to stop thinking about this set 3 format now, while everybody else has to keep thinking about it for quite a while.
Yes, true. At the beginning, when I was like, "Oh, we can't really get our head out of set 3," LD's sitting there like, "I am, mate."
Yeah,
I'm gone.
I've checked out.
No, it's
fair. A great meta. I'm still enjoying it.
But I'm sorry that you couldn't do Lille, but at least you've got the Germany one, and I assume you may try for the Birmingham one. Obviously, tickets aren't on sale, but will that be one that you'll look to do? The one in Birmingham for us?
I'm gonna do my very, very best, but
You might be busy.
I would just say that every person I know is getting married this year
Oh,
and
okay.
doing their best to organise weddings on major Lorcana tournaments. It seems to be that they really like doing
They
that.
don't want
I
you
will do
playing
my
Lorcana.
best. No, they don't want to have it, but I will do my utmost to get to as many as I can.
I'm glad to hear it. Zach, I know you're among the party that didn't get your ticket the first time round, but then luckily, I still remember your meme on Twitter. Let me in! I want to play! But yeah, what have you got lined up?
Thankfully, they let me in. So yeah, I got a ticket for Atlanta and Chicago, and I'm a madman. Like, if I'm free, I will go to literally everyone I get a ticket for. So
Fair.
definitely trying to hit as many as possible.
Yeah, understandable. And Zefa, what's lined up for you?
Yeah, I couldn't get a ticket for Chicago, which is the one I really wanted to go to, and hopefully maybe I can get in the wait list. I can't go to Atlanta anyways because I do have to work around that time. I do actually have a job once in a while. But like LD said, I don't have to stress. I actually find I was the most stressed in set 3 because there's just so many decks, and I play a lot of decks. Like I don't usually specialize in one. I'm just not good with all of them. But yeah, it's very stressful trying to figure out which deck to play because like every single option is just viable. So at least I don't have to stress about that for set 3.
Well, you don't, but I am going to put you on the spot because you're the only one that's definitely not going to one. If you were going to Lille or Atlanta, what would you play?
I would probably at this moment I would probably play red blue and just pray to the gods to avoid turn 1 more. Actually, I actually think the green steel is not as bad. I think it's green purple. And so as long as Artabax just stops coaching people and like promoting green purple, I think red blue will still be fine. But green purple is the deck I truly fear as red blue.
No, that's fair enough. And to the rest of you, obviously, well, to be fair, no, LD, you're not playing a set 3 DLC. So what would you play if you were going to be playing, assumedly Lille?
Yeah, so I would play a green purple.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the deck I've played a ton and this open format rewards experience. And I think that just as a general piece of advice, or at least maybe a light warning to all of the people preparing, in this sort of open field that we understand after months is really quite balanced and lots of decks are viable, you can really overthink this. If you rack your brain looking for a best deck and best choice, you're in real danger of psyching yourself out. If you know something well, yeah, switch in a couple tech choices, but really try not to overthink. The answer's right in front of you if you have piloted a deck well throughout the set. There'll be week to week tweaks, of course. By the time the tournament comes around, it probably would have changed again. You just got to be careful. Don't look for answers that aren't there.
Totally agree, yes.
Obviously, Artabax, we would assume you to be on the EA tempo, but obviously because you're playing, I wouldn't expect you to confirm I'm going to play this. But
yeah, I mean, it's always a risk, you know. We all sometimes searching for a deck that beats everything, but it doesn't exist. It can be that I talked with some people earlier. There was green steel and green purple in the finals in the pack tournament, so maybe amber steel gets a rise, and I get punished because I get 3 amber steels in the Swiss or 4 and lose them. But yeah, what can I do? Maybe I get 3 red blues. You don't know. So I would totally agree with LD to say play your deck that you are comfortable with. It's really not that obvious the plays that you could do if you are not experienced. Or especially the mulligan is really from time. Even now I get better in the mulligan. I played 700 games with my deck, but even today I get better with the mulligan. That's crazy.
Always learning what the best lines are for a deck and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you get a feeling what can I draw, and yeah, it's really I would totally agree with LD. Yes.
And Zach, I know that you're someone that switches between decks a little bit more than perhaps the other gents. So what are, again, I'm not going to ask you what you are playing. You might not even know what. Do you know what you're playing? Are you locked in, or are you between a couple?
I don't.
Talk us through your thought trail at the moment going in, what you're considering.
I'm definitely playing a bunch of different stuff. I have no idea what I'll play. I usually try to break the format, bring something crazy, but with a field so open like this, it's really hard. Like, you can't just try to beat everything, because that's the surefire way to beat nothing, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you just follow their advice, play what you've got the most games with, and realize there's going to be some tough matchups.
Yeah, like there's definitely a lot to be said for stop trying to think about how you're going to beat this, that, and the other, and just play the most consistent version of what your deck is and is trying to do. So no, I think that's some great advice all round. But yeah, what decks in particular? Give us an insight. What are you looking at the most for DLCs?
So I've played Still at every single tournament that I've played, so it's probably going to be something Still. I really love Sapphire Still. Like, I think it's
Pirates.
So
you
good.
heard it here first. Zach Bivens is playing Pirates at DLC.
Okay, don't get crazy now.
You heard it here first.
Still with anything but Ruby.
What is it you like so much about Steel, or is it how much of it is it suits my play style and what I like to do, and how much of it is I just think it's the best color?
I don't know if it's the best color, because Amethyst kind of has that, I think, but it's very good. I think it gives you room to outplay people a lot. So that's what I love about Steel.
I know this is a really hard question to answer because of everything that we've just said. But if you were to make a guess as to what in combination we are going to see the most at Lille and Atlanta, and I told the boys in advance most of the questions I was going to ask, but I am dropping this on them at a moment's notice, which is I'm stalling to give them time to think. But if you were going to make a guess at, like, okay, I'm walking into Lille, France. You walk in, there's a poll. Hey, whoever guesses gets a box of cards, so have a free guess. I think these two inks are going to be the most common in the room. What would you say is going to be the most represented ink combination? Let's start with you, Zefa.
I'm pretty sure it's just gonna remain pretty consistent to what we saw with Tia's tournament. I think for sure it's just gonna be red purple. It's a paper tournament, and people are just gonna bring what they have. And for like a 2,000 person event, if I believe that's the cap for Atlanta, just a lot of people are gonna be on red purple, and the second most popular will probably be blue red.
Yep, Bivens.
So I think Ruby Amethyst for sure. Anytime you try to think it's not going to be Ruby Amethyst, it just always is. Like, no matter what, it's going to be Ruby Amethyst. And I think green, like Emerald, will be the second most popular. Like, I think there'll be a lot of Emerald decks.
Yeah. So as the guys just said, I think Ruby Amethyst has this there's a huge sort of just card ownership effect of, it was massively dominant through set 1 and 2, and it is just the deck that a lot of people own in paper. It's the thing that I sort of observed at set championships about Ruby Amethyst is it's the deck that your local player for whom Lorcana is a secondary game owns. Like your best local Pokemon player also has Ruby Amethyst for Lorcana.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting
it. That just seems to be something that I've observed. Loads of people have it and they'll play it, and the people that don't have it, it's very accessible price wise. Outside of that, I think Green Steel is a really great choice for a number of reasons. Has very strong linear openings as well as a lot of depth to it that would attract people across a lot of skill levels. But of course, some of the cards are a little more expensive to acquire, so probably see a little less of that. But I think if accessibility wasn't an option, I would certainly expect to see a lot of Green Steel going in after the showings it's had recently.
Nice. And Artabax?
Yeah, I would also agree with red purple to be the most popular. I think if you think too much, you think, oh, I can beat every deck with this, and it's kind of true, you can beat everything, and you don't risk too much. And I think the TS tournament maybe this time was not too representative because maybe the people were trying something out for the last time before the championships will be, and there were a lot of Green Steel in TS event. Oh my gosh, there were so many Green Steel, and I don't think there will be that much in the challenges, but I don't know. I would also say red purple and red blue because they are really good decks both, and have not that much risk. Even red blue has not that much risk. It's green purple. What I really think is not that popular. I really would say it's green purple. Green steel will be popular, I think, but green purple, I don't think so that it's too popular. And that's the only thing that blue red really is afraid of. So it's also really good.
Moving out of DLCs then. Into set 4, which is approaching on the 17th is when it goes live at big box stores and LGSs. Again, a couple of us are already in the set 4 frame of mind. A couple of us aren't because we've got set 3 DLCs to play. But I've asked everyone to prepare a card to talk about that they are excited for, that they think might have some potential. And it doesn't have to be something that you think is going to be tier 0. Be something that you're at least just keen to try out, even if it's not going to be tier 1. But yeah, I just thought I'd going to go around and get everyone's thoughts on how set 4. Give me a overall, like, what do you think of set 4, what you've seen so far, and bring up a specific card that you're excited about. Let's start with Zefa if you've got something in mind.
Set 4 feels with what's been spoiled so far, it feels a little bit underwhelming, but I do have like there's only like 3 cards that I feel like are really gonna affect the format significantly, in my opinion. I think it's like the Pegasus shift package, Brawl, and I'm really big on Mulan. So those are the 3 that I'm most interested in.
Yeah, and that's great because like it'd be nice to have some disagreement here as well. Like I'm sure some people will rate a card higher than someone else. So yeah, like what do you like about those in particular?
Well, I think Mulan in particular and Brawl fills the weaknesses of Red Blue, which is already an incredibly strong deck. But Mulan on 2 with a ramp on 3 opens up a board wipe on 4 with Mulan, and then Mulan on 2 or Brawl on 3 opens up Mulan to just 3/3 trade and you Brawl. Something like Blue Red's weakness is just its early game, and Brawl and Mulan just fill that gap, and I don't know how Blue Red isn't like a mega tier 1 deck in set 4 so far with what we've seen.
That's good to hear because like I agree completely. I think most people agree that Brawl's really, really strong, but I see a lot of different opinions concerning Mulan. Is there anyone here that disagrees with Mulan? Because again, I think between us we can helpfully disagree on certain things. So is there a Mulan? Does anyone here think it's being overrated?
I don't want to say it because maybe I get punished for this because it's the most broken card in the set and I lose all my reputation. But I'm not convinced about her, to be honest. For me, she's really only good if you shift her, and then you can play around her really good, I think. And kind of situational, but I can really be wrong, but
yeah, of course,
not too high on her, to be honest.
Zach LD, obviously I'll give you your chances to bring up new things, but I think this is an interesting discussion point if there's like different opinions about things. So how do we feel about Mulan specifically, LD?
Yeah, so I think I'm probably more in line with Artabax's thinking, but that's probably because it's not the kind of card I would typically play with myself. The watermark for any powerful shift character has always been, well, there's a couple of things. Are the things that you're shifting from good, and is it good when it's not shifted? And I think Mulan ticks one of those boxes comfortably, and the other one is kind of a question mark. I think it will be incredible before people are playing around it. It looks, the line that Zefa's just shared there, yeah, that's a huge blowout, and you're going to get people early on. It might be something that loses a bit of its potency as people adjust, but that's kind of true for every card, so it's a bit of a cop-out answer. I think it's probably quite good, but I'm not mega high on it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Zach, your thoughts? You've seen this Mulan, I assume.
I'm looking right now. Are we talking about the Ruby one? The 6 cost?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure either way, to be honest with
I know that you're not a big fan of shifting in general for a lot of characters. I
think it's gotten better shifting. Like there's a lot more powerful things now. Like in set 1, like it was not good to shift. You just lost your resources. Like I don't know. But it's definitely changed recently with more powerful effects. Like getting a turn 3 Robin Hood's pretty good, so it's a little bit better now.
Character dependent.
I could see this Mulan going either way. I don't know. I don't think it's like broken or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll just have to wait and see, really. I think that's the biggest thing with new cards. You can think they're amazing and then they're terrible, or you could think they're terrible and then they end up being amazing. So it's just gonna come down to playing with them.
But Brawl, I totally agree with Zefa. The Brawl is a really, really, really is one of the best cards for me for the new set because it fills the gap. Like Zeph said, it fills the gap that Ruby struggled with this early board interaction, where you have to play cards like Pinocchio
Queen
and
of
Thief and
Hearts.
Ambitions, which both were kind of awkward. I mean, Thief was okay, but Pinocchio was also okay, but then uninkable often, and it's not the best solutions you could have. But this is a really good solution, and even then, inkable, I don't know. This card alone could throw Ursula 3-drop and Minnie Mouse out of the format, maybe, because
I think Minnie's gone.
Steel had already really good options against both of them, and now Red has also, so nearly any deck has good answers to.
There's not much point anymore. If Red Blue and Red Purple can do that to your Minnie, I think that's the icing on the cake for her. Unfortunately, I don't see her. Let's go to LD. A card that you are excited for the new format.
Yeah, so Goofy, Super Goof is the card that I can't stop thinking about. I really love this kind of card, and this is, to me, that they're very different cards, but I feel the way about this card as I felt about Kit Cloud Kicker when it was spoiled last set. I don't know if Artabax will remember, but this Kit got spoiled, and I was kind of like, look at this medium card. Look at how reasonable this is. Like, have you seen it? Yeah. Have you seen this? I mean, like, what's this going to be like? And then at the start of the set, sort of pre-launch, doing early testing, and that week 1 of that new format, before people adjust to playing around this stuff, you can just really get them with these things. If Super Goof becomes a staple, people will adjust when they quest and when they feel safe doing it. But until then, you're going to get some really good reach out of this sort of thing. Anyone that hates goats and the reach they bring, is probably also going to hate this card for its just ability to gain lore out of nowhere. I'm just thinking about doing silly things with it, like playing 1 on turn 6 with 6 ink and trading into something, readying it with LeFou and trading again and gaining 4 lore in addition to questioning what you already got, and just, reach is my jam. Just let me burn people out, and I think this will help you do it a bit while also kind of maintaining ball control.
I think especially maybe with this new Lumiere that got spoiled.
Love him. I really do.
That's a really cool combo, I think. So he got three strength then, and I think Lumiere is a really good card. This new 2-drop Lumiere.
It's funny. I was because I was watching some of your stream the other day when you were playing Tears Tournament, and I had just put out my most recent review of cards, and I did the unimpressed and then impressed meme, turning away from the Emerald Inkcaster, and then like this for the Lumiere, like there, this is the one, and then I came onto your stream and you were like, I don't like the Inkcaster. I think Lumiere's really good. And I was like, yes, validation.
We had to. I was just going to say we had a good moment with that the other day. It was like not a conversation, but a chain of people. I was watching Artabax's stream while he was watching Zefa's stream, and Zefa was reviewing cards and brought up the Inkcaster and started saying it's bad. And then together we were just sort of like, yeah. It's so bad.
So wait, I'm going to hold my breath. Zach, are you about to tell us why Inkcaster's good?
No.
Oh, thank God. But no, Super Goof. Staying on topic, I agree. I think it's there's a few things that, like, because I'm a control guy. I've been that way since set 1. I'll probably never change. So all the cards I'm looking at, thinking, okay, does this slip in? I think Super Goof is number 1 on my list of I need to at least try this, because just the, like you say, just the reach seems absolutely insane. Zach, we've already had. I've got an idea what card you're going to bring up, but feel free to bring up one or two. But yeah,
so
what are you
know what?
excited for?
I'm equally excited and depressed about this new Ruby Hercules that they just revealed. Like, why do they have to do this to my boy? The artwork's so good.
Yeah,
Hercules
it really
is so cool, but he's a terrible Maui. Like, he's not even inkable. It's just everything about him is so much worse.
Yeah.
So I'm just holding out hope that there's some kind of mega Hercules support, and it's gonna make him broken somehow, but it's not gonna happen. So.
There's one
legendary is still to be revealed, I think.
One legendary still left to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you've
seen.
One. I can't remember. Is it? It's his mum, Zeus's wife.
Yeah,
Hera? It's Hera, I think. Yeah. Give evasive, my guy. I know that changes little, but it's Hercules support. No, I agree.
Why did they do that to him?
I agree. I think if Maui can be inkable, like, it wouldn't have broke the game. Come on, like, or even just lower his willpower a bit. Like, it's fine. Like, he's still going to be good because, like, he's a location killer. But that is the question I ask you. Like, is there a point where we still play him essentially as a 5th Maui?
Maybe just uninkable man is.
I know,
like, you can take away some stats, just make him inkable. Like, uninkable is just huge.
Yeah,
I think it's of course worse, but maybe as if you see it as a 5th or 6th Maui, maybe if you really need it.
It's going to depend how the meta shapes. Like, if whether it's next format or 3 formats, every deck is running these Queen's Castle equivalent like locations that you just need to have answers for. It depends how often your Maui is enough. I think probably Maui is going to end up being enough, but we hold out hope for our boy Hercules.
Uninkable kills this card really. This is really
it's a bit depressing.
7-1 and inkable.
7-1 and inkable, I think would have been quite reasonable. It is a shame. Artabax, another card that you'd like to bring up that you're excited for.
I thought about multiple cards. I want to try 2 decks next forward first. That's one of this is this broom deck. I really like the brooms.
We got our 2-cost Mickey.
I don't know if they are good enough, but I really want to try it out. I think this steel Mickey is one of the coolest cards of the new set for me. This 5-cost deal damage, how many brooms you have, and then he's still really sticky on the board with 2 lore and resist, and I think you won't shift him too often, but
it's one of the best arts as well. And like, I've got you can see in the background, I've got that Mickey. Like, I mostly have Pokemon plushies, but like I've got that classic really Fantasia cool Mickey. Like, it's my favorite depiction of Mickey. It's so cool. And so yeah.
And of course the new Cricky I think is really in my green purple deck. I want to build a new improved green purple list, and with a little bit more little slower with Cricky and such cards, because I think Cricky is really good.
I agree.
With 3 lore, that's and this effect could easily remove locations and make good. And still, I think he's not super busted, but he's one of these cards that needs an immediate answer. That's this Diablo 3-cost bird. I think it's one of those cards like 3-drop Ursula. I don't know if he's good enough, but he needs an immediate answer or he goes crazy. And
I was quite hard on Diablo. I will admit, when I did my reviews, I was not too sold on him. And again, as is the case with every time I review, like, again, I've been right before, I've been wrong before, but again, we're just giving our first impressions, and I'm not afraid to be wrong. That's fine, but I don't know. I just think the 2 is just way too squishy and just too easy to meet by, like, steel and red are 2 of the most common colors. If they can deal with this straight away, especially because you are shifting and you're discarding an action card. If you are shifting,
I wouldn't play it for shift.
You wouldn't shift.
I think I wouldn't play. I would play him just for. You
just
answer this, or I win the game. I win the game, not, but.
But you will keep drawing if they can't answer.
The crazy thing is, you go questing with these. Your opponents draw a card, you draw a card, and then they can't dig for answers. Because if they play a rabbit or something, you just say, "Okay, thank you. I draw." They can't sing a friends or something because you just draw a card every time they draw a card. But
I think Broom's going to be a problem for this.
Maybe
as well.
There are too much answers to this card.
Yeah,
but I want to try it out.
Absolutely, and it's one of the best arts, hands down. And hey, I would love to be wrong because I love the character, so like I would love this to be good. But I don't know. I just think if
And
it ever got good enough, then decks can just quite easily adapt to probably be able to beat it.
That's
what I would say. Yeah, anything
and
else?
Today got this new Megara release that I think she's really busted.
Yeah, I do too. The 3-cost uninkable that
3-cost uninkable, 3/6, 2 lore, I think. And you have to discard a card when you play her. But wow, you play this on turn 3. It's like a Robin Hood. The same stats like a Robin Hood on turn 3, and you could say Robin Hood is also discard 1 card because you need to shift and lose this card you shifted on. So, wow, that's really aggressive. 3/6 on turn 3. Deal with it, and I think about it like in a Tiana deck or something, where you want to discard your whole hand, so you have no downside of discarding cards. If you have no cards in your hand, you can just play her with no downside, and that's super sticky. I think.
Yeah, no, I like her, and I saw the old-fashioned Dice to Tremaine, but it's a 3-drop. Like, so does Mini, but it's not the point. You just get as much value as you can before then having to make them use that. So
Robin Hood and Beast do 2, and they cost 5. So
yeah, exactly. I think that's quite reasonable, to be fair. No, I'm a fan of Meg. Any other cards in particular anyone would like to bring up that they are interested in?
I just want to add on, like, I also think Diablo's really good. I think we also forgot to mention he's a Floodmorn, so like Bucky Diablo and Blue Fairy Diablo is gonna be a menace. And also adding on to Megara, also I was thinking also the Tiana thing, but also Friar Tuck. As much as I hate Friar Tuck, I'm just like, oh, you could just do Megara, discard a card, and Friar Tuck them. It's a pretty funny curve. And then Megara into like a Rapunzel if green yellow ever becomes a thing, maybe. But yeah, I think Megara, Diablo, and Super Goofy also adding on to that was also my top 5 cards. Definitely think. I think also in terms of like color combos, I think red yellow has a lot of potential too, because I think red got a lot of tools, and not necessarily just Mufasa, but yeah, with Goofy, and I think Mulan can see play in red yellow, just because like again, I'm big on the Mulan, so Mulan dock into shift. And I don't even think I understand like the shift line is like very important, but I think just the threat of the shift is also equally important. I think no one's gonna swing into a 1/3 Mulan that can just wipe your entire board. Unless I guess maybe the green players are biased because they can see your hand with Ursula, but I don't know.
Which Mulan do you think of, Zef, to shift on? I don't know the
2-drop. It's a 1/3. It's a 1/3, but whenever you play an action, it gets +2/+0. And like red blue doesn't have like a 2-drop 3/3. And for me, it's kind of a 2-drop 3/3 because you have 1 jump ahead. You have a Brawl now, which pumps it up to a 3/3. And then just again, you have the ramp with Blue Fishbone or Mickey curves you into the shift potential. So even if you don't have the shift, I think just having a 1/3 Mulan on board, your opponents will never quest in or just auto lose the game. That's all I think.
Yeah.
So for me, the 1/3 is more important than the actual shift itself.
That's reasonable. Yes, that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see like the first couple of weeks of play, like what people are jamming with, and again, I love that part of a format, to be honest, where people are still working it out and you have no idea what you're going to see. Zach, any other thoughts on anything else you're really excited for? Obviously, I know we're disappointed for Hercules, but anything that you're excited for?
No, I think just echoing everything they've said. The Goofy looks awesome. That's like the main one that stuck out to me so far.
Is there anything that anyone thinks is being overrated? I mean, obviously from this conversation, a couple of people think Mulan is being overrated, but we've had that conversation. Is there anything else that people are clearly hyped for and you're just thinking, this doesn't stand a chance? Open field?
Almost every
card.
Legendary.
I think this steel Ariel is really overrated. I think she will be not good. I can't. I would be really surprised if she would end up to be really good, because in which deck would you want to play this? And you won't shift this on a 3-drop Ariel. I don't know. The effect is not super strong, and dies to Medusa. I don't know. Not too high on her.
What do you guys think about the green Hey Hey? Because you guys play green, so
Yeah, the problem is what I thought about this green Hey Heys. You can't play it on turn 3 on the draw, because if the opponent is on turn 3, you have to ink first and then play him, and then you have equal ink to them. So you can first do it on turn 4, and
Yeah.
that's bad. Except you play with Pluto. With Pluto, it's possible to do on turn 2. Pluto into Hey Hey. That's cool. That's a cool combo.
The lemon and lime resurgence.
But also against blue, right? One jump ahead. I think red blue will be very popular. So it's
it's a counter card. That's true. Yes,
it's kind of like that. I don't know. I think Hey Hey might be slightly overrated, but I also know a lot of people are talking about that Donald Duck for some reason. I think that's a bit overrated.
Are they?
Oh, the most.
Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to play him in my pirate deck, but I don't think I've seen anyone go, Donald Duck's breaking the meta.
Okay. Well, a lot of people were talking about him, and I was like, is that card even good? I don't think it'll...
I need to be part of these conversations. I'm loving the energy. I disagree, but I'm loving the energy.
I forgot about this, but the most overrated card by far is this new Hades legendary. I don't know why people think this is good.
It's
this
fun.
is so trash for me. You just,
but Artabax, just if we get a green or a red 1-cost Maleficent, just think of the possibilities. I mean, I know it still doesn't sound great, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's not. But even you lose. The people think, oh, then you get this ink advantage, but you play this guy for 4, so you paid the ink to even get this. You can say it as a shift or something, but it's not even an ink advantage if you do that, and then you have to exert this character who does nothing with his 3/3 body.
I feel like this is the angriest Artabax gets. I feel like he's fuming at this Hades.
No, because in my stream, there was like 20 minutes where people want to convince me that he's good, and I just the whole time I said it's not good, it's not. But maybe it's good, and I will get my revenge.
Yeah.
No, it will not get good. It won't.
It won't be good. Don't worry. You're safe. You're safe.
To go back to one of the first ones you mentioned, Zefa, but we ended up talking about Mulan. You're excited for the new Emerald Pegasus, the 5-cost Floodborn.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's turn 1, turn 3 is a very powerful shift. Like with Green Steel, you got turn 1 Robin or Pegasus, and then the turn 3 shift. You have fast wheel lines. It's just a straight up better Pascal, and Pascal is very, very good, I think. Played in a lot of the like purple steel and green purple. Like, it's just strictly better. I think Pegasus it's in my top 3 cards actually, so I don't know. I feel like it's really good even though I don't play much green.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of people hype it.
Yeah, I agree. Even the 1-drop is just like you say. Some of the decks moved off Pascal for a bit. I know that a lot of the green purple players, myself included, were off it for a while, but we're back to seeing just how good it is. And that's just unconditional Pascal is, yeah, that's a very playable card, that 1-drop.
Nice. There's 2 things about set 4 that I want to quickly get your thoughts on before we move on to our final question of this session. So this set is giving us our first tutor in Lorcana. We're getting Alma Madrigal, who searches for a Madrigal and puts that card on the top of the deck. I think this is quite common in quite a lot of card games. In my Yu-Gi-Oh days, we called it Reinforcements of the Army. Obviously, Pokemon has always had a lot of search for specific things. But yeah, for Lorcana, it's the first that we're getting of this. I think probably quite highly speculated. How do you feel about this? Does this excite you? Does this worry you? Zach, what are your thoughts on tutors in Lorcana?
It's tough for me, like, coming from Pokemon, that's what I played all my life. Like, you could just discard your hand, draw 7, and it wasn't even that broken. Like, one-sided wheel. So, like, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around this stuff. Like, I didn't play Magic, so...
Never, no.
Yeah, it doesn't translate to this game whatsoever, Pokemon. So, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah,
but tutors in general, definitely strong. So, yeah. From a design standpoint, I don't love all this shuffling the deck and all that mess. Like, I really love how Lorcana, you don't waste all your time shuffling, like all that. So from a design point, I don't necessarily love tutors coming in, but I think they're always have tons of potential. So
yeah, Anyone else? Thoughts on tutors?
Yeah, completely agree with what Zach said there. The lack of deck manipulation in Lorcana is a massive strength for me, and it's one of those things that I don't think anybody's putting this Madrigal card in their deck for the sake of opening windows to cheat, but deck manipulation does, increases the people palming things and putting the top 2 instead of the top 1, that sort of thing. In addition to wasting time, being a game with minimal deck manipulation is great, and we're already having conversations about how often rounds go to time and stuff, and what's right for best of 2, best of 3 timings. Just keep the deck manipulation low. It's really good. Just keep it streamlined. It helps the gameplay, helps the flow of play, and reduces chances for people to do anything silly.
Yep, I think that sums it up. Unless anyone else has got something to add, go on.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think shuffling is bad, but I don't think we have to worry about that because this card is pretty much trash, and I don't think anyone's gonna play this.
Yeah. No, this in particular, I'm not expecting to see it soon. But again, it's just you've got to think it sets that precedent for the future. But I think if it's done sparingly, and given to the more fun decks in general that aren't necessarily going to see top level play, but are perfectly fine to play around the kitchen table with your family and friends. So yeah, they need to be really careful about what characterizations they let us draw from the deck from this. If I'm going to guess, I feel like Brooms is probably going to be something that could get this at some point. But then again, like, as long as you're looking at the less common ones, like deities, mentors, things like that. But again, even then, it only takes one good mentor or deity to then break that, and then suddenly, I can find this whenever I need it. So I'm excited for tutors, but yeah, I definitely think it needs to be looked at delicately. Last thing before we move away from set 4 that we haven't covered at all, it's all that conversation about exciting cards and no mention of the new Sing Together mechanic, shall we call it, or cost, really, is probably the more accurate way of describing it. What do we think about these, both as a mechanic and the Sing Together cards that we've seen? Are any of them good?
Probably the best one is Mob Song, in my opinion, because it's in Steel Song. I think it'll be played, at least tested with, to start as a one of, just because you have so many you have Cindy Singers, maybe Ursula Singer 4, but probably not, because it has a natural curve with turn 1 Cindy, turn 2 any 2-drop, turn 3 Aerial, and then turn 4 you can kind of wipe their board. I believe that works like 5 + 3 + 2. Yeah, that's 10. So I feel like as a turn 4 wipe with a natural Cindy Aerial curve, it's probably the best Sing Together song, but
again,
the other ones are underwhelming.
I'm not too high on them. I think for me the best is the Ruby one.
Pirate's Life.
Because it's playable, even without. It's not too clunky than the others, and it couldn't. First, I thought it's really trash, but if you think about how much the games in your control matchups lead to reach sometimes, and 1 or 2 lore can make a difference, then it's in total 4 lore difference. So your opponent loses 2 lore and you gain 2 lore. So that's a lot of reach you can get out of this card. I mean, it's not for every matchup, but I mean, if you're red purple and you play against blue red or red purple mirror match, then it could be a 2-off in some red purple decks. Maybe.
Yeah, that is one that I've seen a lot of. Again, some people I've seen say trash, but then I listened to you talk about it in your stream the other day, and I think you make fair points. Zach, your thoughts on the Sing Together songs?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Artabax there. I think the control decks, like for the mirror match and stuff, would be the most likely to use them right now. Yeah, I'm not like super impressed at the moment. So yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm not super high on them at the moment though.
LD?
Yeah, I would say that the Ruby one is probably the only one that interests me a lot at the moment. I think in general, things that demand a lot of conditions to be met to sort of do their thing at a reasonable time scale. I'm never going to be too high on that. If you need to specific lines with, Steel Song's going to do it better than most because it already curves Cindy's into aerials and stuff, and that's great. But if you're sort of looking at, well, if I stick this 3-drop on 3 and then my 4-drop on 4 on turn 5, I can sing this big thing. I'm kind of like, well, this is great unless there's an opponent on the other side of the table. If anybody happens to be playing against you,
that's a good way of putting it.
If there's another participant in the game, it doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And again, like, it's locations, we got, like, that was our new toy last set. Most of them have been underwhelming, and like, I think that's fine. Like, it's like dipping your toe into a new thing, but obviously there was the clear standout Queen's Castle, and you could argue McDuck Manor as well. It's seeing less play now, but there was definitely a point where it was huge. I'd say those are the most relevant locations of our format. Pride Lands, Pride Lands would be next. But yeah, these Sing Together songs. My initial review, I didn't rate any of them too highly, but I was reviewing Second Star to the Right, which is the 10 cost uninkable draw 5, and I said as a start, I was like, I'm perfectly aware that this is bait, but I just want to draw 5 cards. And I was like, how many times have you been sat there with Rabbit Kuzco or Rabbit Goat Kuzco on a stalemate against the Ruby Amethyst control player? And I was just buying too much into that, I think, and going, but surely, like, this is a realistic board state. I've been in Mexican standoffs like this many times. Like, this sounds incredible, but at the end of the
problem
day,
is the problem is you can't if you could lower the cost, then it would be much more playable, but you can only sing 10 together or play it for 10. If you can say you exert 1 rabbit to lower the cost 4 and only play it for 6, then it would be
that
way
would be
better.
Different. That would change a lot if you were able to split between, I'm going to sing 3 of it and then pay 7, or the other way around. Like, turn your 7 drop sideways and just pay 3. But yeah, I think ultimately at the end of the day, you get this in, you mulligan back into this. You hate yourself, and at the end of the day, like, even if you just say, "Oh, I'll just have that one off," you're never going to get that one off in the turn where it would be convenient to play it. So, as much as I at the beginning wanted to believe in it, I was like, I know this is bait, but let me cook. But I've stopped cooking. It's a bad card. But yeah, right. We've talked for a long while, so to send us home, we've done a lot. Hopefully everything we've said today will appeal to both the professional and the casual player, but I think we've lent more towards probably the more experienced players. But for those of people that are watching at home that are more beginners, or even not necessarily beginners to Lorcana, maybe you've been here since chapter 1, but you are yet to play a big tournament the scale of what we're expecting at the DLCs. I want to go around everybody. So, Zach Bivens, what's a piece of advice that you would give to a brand new player, and they're just starting now, or they started 9 months ago when Lorcana began, but Lille or Atlanta is their first big tournament? What is the most important thing to remember?
Mindset is everything. Go into it with the right mindset. Like, it takes time to make top cuts and win tournaments. Like, nobody, if you're just starting, realize it's a process and that there's always another tournament. Just going to so many tournaments, I've learned, like, there's always another round and always another tournament. Like, it's okay if I lose. It's literally okay. Like, just go in there with the right mindset and know what you're getting into. Like, know it's going to be a long day so that you're prepared for that. Bring your snacks, all that stuff. So I think just mindset's the biggest thing for a new player.
It's kind of something that LD said earlier. I would say just stop trying to predict or anticipate the meta, where you're fortunate or unfortunate in a situation right now where the meta is so diverse. You can just play any deck, so just play the deck you're most comfortable with, because a bad pilot trying to predict the meta on a deck he's unfamiliar with is not going to have a good time ever. Just always play the deck that you like the most and have the most experience with.
You'll see a lot of content from very, very good players, and it's easy to put these players on a pedestal and think that, if I run into Artabax at a tournament or something, I don't stand a chance, it's over. There are conditions. Any person that knows their deck well is capable of beating any other player. Look at everyone on this call. You look at our best win rates with our best decks. Even in great conditions, they're probably hovering 65 to 70 over hundreds of games. That's 30 to 35% of lost games for players that are considered like goats of their deck that you can win. And it's important to go in with that mindset. You absolutely can execute it well, keep a clear head, and you've got a fair shout of getting where you need to go.
I would agree with everyone, but I have a real practical tip I would give.
Please do.
Because I did a lot of coaching, and I just realized that mistake that many people do is hand tracking, just as general advice. The most people do not hand track. I mean, anticipate what your opponent has in their hand by their plays or by their ink decisions. That's a real skillful thing and a real improvement for your outcome. Very often, if they ink this, what could they have? If they play this, what could they have? I think most people are on their own plays, to linear on their own plays, and don't hand track that much. I think that's an important skill to learn, and there were a long time where I did not do that, and learning that improved me a lot. I think that's so a general advice I would give, but I would agree with everyone what said. Don't play too much around with decks. You can lose. Every one of us can lose. I'm afraid of losing. Everyone think, oh, Artabax, but then maybe I go 0-3, and because I got 3 steel songs, and then I screw up, and
it happens. It happens. Yeah, we've all been there. Like Zach said earlier, we went to 3 set championships, 2 top 8s, got knocked out before top 4, and I'm sure that opponent was like, great, my top 8 game against Zach Bivens, and we all know you're a great player, but even the great players can have bad games, bad days, and you could be the person to take out. Just because someone is more well-known than you doesn't mean that you should accept defeat before walking in. Like, go in there and give it your all. But that is pretty much it. We've talked about a variety of things: Lorcana, the current meta, previous metas, DLC, set championships, set 4. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, gentlemen. Again, all the links will be below. LD mostly over on Twitter, cooking up a collection of brews. I think you're also active on the 20 Lore Pro Discord as well. Obviously, we've got a good relationship with 20 Lore Pro. They do great things for the community. So I'm sure you can also pick his brain somewhere there. Artabax Twitch stream will be linked down below. Also a Twitter, a part of Twitter now, or X, it's Twitter. So yeah, that'll be linked down below. Go follow him. Zach Bivens, also very active on Twitter, done deck giveaways in the past. And yeah, you've got your YouTube channel, Lorcana Castle, and I believe you're coaching now as well.
Yeah, we did a lot of coaching for set championships, and that was super successful. So yeah. Yep, just added that recently.
For you, and because Artabax, you're coaching as well, aren't you? How can people find information if they're interested in getting coaching from you? Is it on your Twitters? Where can they find that?
You can just write me in Discord, Artabax, and in the 20 Law Discord. There's a thing where you can. There's a
coaching sub. Discord,
yes, there's a coaching sub where you can just go
so they can find you there.
Yes.
And Zach, where can people find you for that?
For me, you should just message me on Twitter. It's through Patreon right now, but I'm moving to Medify, where it's super easy to schedule something. So now that I've been improved on there, it'll be there shortly. But you can just message me on Twitter right now.
And of course, Zefa, I've got to be honest, was one of my first inspirations before I even started my channel. So it's a pleasure to have you on the channel again, mate. I honestly think you're one of the best content creators in the game. It makes me very sad that you don't get as much time to make videos these days. But as you said, you do have a job sometimes. But yeah, you can find Zefa over on YouTube. And can people expect a video on your channel anytime soon?
It'll probably be for set 4. I'm also mentally checked out since I'm not going to like Atlanta or those kind of events, so probably set 4.
Set 4, whatever takes your fancy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And that brings our podcast to an end. Again, it's been really long, so I want to wrap up quickly. But I hope you enjoyed it. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to all of these incredible human beings, incredible players. I learn a lot whenever I talk to them about the game and just get to... that was essentially me just mediating those fantastic players, just talking about the game, which was an honour to do. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know it's been very long. If you have enjoyed it, please comment. Please hit the like button. As always, I will take the analytics of how videos do into account before before I consider if I'm going to do more of these sort of things. So if you'd like to see more multi-person podcasts and you don't mind them being longer, then please interact with the video. Let me know that you enjoyed it. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.